जगद्गुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की।
Hare Krishna. Is there anyone who's come to the temple for first time? First time. Welcome to Melbourne ISKCON Temple. आपका आशीर्वाद है तो बस वही चाहिए. So for those who are coming to the temple, for first time, there is prasadam organized upstairs at 5 p.m. So please do not leave before having prasadam. So today's session will be around Bhagavad Gita chapter 4. It's called Transcendental Knowledge, and one of the most important chapters in Bhagavad Gita, one of my favorite chapters personally. And yeah, I would like to discuss a few verses with you of this chapter. Before that, let's just see what does the Bhagavad Gita mean to us. Bhagavad Gita literally means Song of God. It's literally Lord Krishna's own words. And it's said that anyone who comes into contact with Bhagavad Gita becomes pure instantaneously. So Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita some 5,500 years ago, but its message is still very much relevant today. It's used not just by spiritualists, they are all studying the Bhagavad Gita, but it's also being referred to a lot in the corporate world, in management institutes, in universities, in yoga studios these days. So the message is still there, very much relevant, and it helps us deal with the complexities of our material life. So Krishna is giving the knowledge to whom? So let's try and understand that. He's giving the knowledge to Arjuna. So Arjuna is his friend and devotee. He comes to Krishna especially for shelter. And Krishna then accepts him as his disciple and then starts transferring the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. So what does Krishna say in chapter 4? Krishna describes the nature of his appearance. Why does he come into this material world in his eternal body, which is transcendental? It's not normal like us in the nature of his appearance. And when he comes to this material world, he comes at a certain time when religion decreases, irreligion increases. So there is an important verse which all of us know, Yada yada hi dharmasya glahe bhavati bharata. And then he goes on to say, why does he come? Why does he appear? He appears to deliver the pious, deliver the good people, and annihilate the miscreants. So you would have seen in Mahabharata, he killed a lot of the demons like Duryodhana, Dushasana, and Shishupal, and so many demons. And then he also wants to re-establish the principles of dharma. So that's very important. So he comes here to re-establish dharma, level set everything back to where it was before the universe started, and then he goes back to a different world to perform his pastimes there. So Krishna's appearance and disappearance is described as transcendental. Krishna appears in, so let's first understand Krishna's birth. Krishna's birth is not like an ordinary living being. Krishna first appeared in the mind of his father Vasudev. And then from the mind of Vasudev he was transferred to his heart. And then from the heart of Vasudev he was transferred to Devaki. And then he was born. And when he was born in the material world, he appeared in his four-handed Vishnu form, Shankar Chakra Gada Padma. Then Vasudev and Devaki, they prayed to him, they offered their obeisances, and then he transformed into the two-handed Krishna form. So the nature of his birth is very important, it needs to be understood. So thereafter we move to verse 4.9, which I will recite to you. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tatvatah tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mam eti so Arjuna. So the translation of this verse has been given by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in the material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. And I will sort of unpack this line by line so that we understand exactly what Krishna means here. So, Janma Karma Chame Divyam. My appearance and activities are divine, they are not ordinary. Evam Yo Vedi Tattvataha. Those who know them in truth. Again, this line is very important. I'll come back to that later in this session and explain what exactly it means. But right now, just remember those who know them in truth. Tyaktva deham, after giving up the body, punarjanma naiti, so they will never take birth once again in this material world. And then what happens to such people? They never take birth in the material world, but then where do they go? So Krishna clearly says, Mam eti, so Arjuna, they will come back to my abode and remain with me forever. Be it Vaikuntadam or Golokadam, they will remain with Krishna in his eternal abode. So that's very clear here. It's a very wonderful sloka, very hope-giving sloka in this age of Kali Yuga for all of us. That if we know the transcendental pastimes and appearance of Krishna, we can very easily attain him. But the key is to know that in truth, which I will explain in a bit. So like I said, Krishna is divine, his appearance is divine, his activities are divine. Similarly, all his incarnations are also divine. So he appeared in several incarnations in different yugas, some of them being Vaman Dev, Varahadev, Matsya Avatar, Kurma Avatar, Narsimha Dev, so many avatars, and in each of these avatars he appeared in a different way. So if you take Narsimha Avatar, it happened in all of a sudden he appeared from a pillar, full of fury, full of anger, in a mood to destroy Hiranyakashipu. If you look at Vaman Dev, he appeared as a small boy, he appeared from the womb of Diti and he came to Bali Maharaj, but then he, all of a sudden, in order to take those 3 giant steps, he transformed himself into a huge giant from a small boy. If you take Varaha Avatar, the avatar of a hog, or if you take the Varaha Avatar, he actually appears from the nostrils of Brahma to kill Hiranyaksha. So in all these activities, you see a lot of divinity involved, and that requires faith. It requires us to know him in truth, in the mood of devotion, in order to understand him completely. It's not possible to understand that purely by using our limited sense of reasoning, which is what is the essence of this beautiful verse. So again, going back to Krishna's pastimes, he killed a lot of demons, Putna, Vatsasura, Trinavrata, and then Bakasura, and then he lifted Mount Govardhan. He performed so many wonderful pastimes. When he opened his mouth once, Mother Yashoda could see the entire universe. So all these pastimes again just goes to show the potency of the Lord, how he is known as the supreme controller. He's definitely not an ordinary human being and should never be taken in that mood or spirit. So again, just giving certain examples, there are people, maybe India, some of them, they take Krishna to very lightly, this relationship with Krishna. Some of them even tend to dress up as Krishna. They visit different places asking for money. They are really called as Sahajiyas. They do not really follow the principles of the scriptures. They do not follow the principles outlined in the Vedic Shastras. And they think that it's very easy to achieve Krishna just by dressing up like him, just by eating food like him, and just by playing the flute like him, and then trying to influence the public. So we should be very careful of such Sahajiyas, because we really should take shelter from bona fide spiritual masters who have read the scriptures, right? So we do not want to be misled by such people. So further on in this verse, we also talk about Krishna's appearance, which is compared to the sunrise and sunset by Srila Prabhupada. So we all know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. So Krishna's appearance and disappearance is compared to that, because as you know, let's say today the sun rose at, let's say, 6:30 a.m. and sets at 6:30 p.m. It does not mean that the sun was created at 6:30 a.m. and it was destroyed at 6:30 p.m. or it ended at 6:30 p.m. It just means that the duration of the sun for us started at 6:30 and ended at 6:30 p.m. But the sun then goes on to other regions of the earth and illuminates and provides heat to those other regions which are far away from us. But at the same time, the point to note that it still very much exists. Similarly, although Krishna performed his pastimes on this earth for a limited period, around 125 years, the point to note that Krishna still existed before his appearance in this earth and will continue to exist after he departed this earth. So he is probably gone on to perform his pastimes in a different planet, in a different universe, and he will again appear in every yuga on planet Earth. So he appears in every day of Brahma just once. So once his pastime is finished, he will go back and he will come back again. But that does not mean that Krishna is an ordinary person who has been given certain powers and who came and who went away and will no longer come back. So that certainly is not the essence of this verse. So similar to Krishna, we are also eternal. We are also eternal souls. We are definitely not this body. It has been proven through multiple research conducted by scientists that there is the concept of past life, and because there is a concept of past life, there will always be a concept of future life. So our duration as souls is also eternal. We have existed in the past and we will continue to exist in the past, like Krishna. So in that sense, as pure spiritual souls, we are eternal, but in the activities that we perform are not transcendental or are not divyam, because the activities we perform in this planet, in the material world, are tinged with material influences, the three modes of material nature, sattva gun, raja gun and tamo gun, the modes of passion, the modes of goodness and the modes of ignorance. And we perform activities on this earth for our own benefit. So our activities are not transcendental, unlike Krishna, and that's the reason we then need to purify ourselves through different parts of yoga, like Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. So all these different types of yogas, we need to follow this process in order to purify our souls, so that eventually we will become we can attain Krishna and go to his abode and serve his lotus feet. So there's a very nice verse described in Brahma Samhita. This has been recited by Lord Brahma himself. This is Brahma Samhita verse 5.33. Advaitam achyutam anadim anantarupam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So in this verse, it is described that Krishna is infallible, he is without a second, and he is the supreme controller. And although he comes in infinite forms, he is ultimately the one and the same. He is Lord Krishna himself, appearing in different infinite forms. So let's not be misled by different incarnations that he comes in. He is essentially the one supreme personality of Godhead. And to that supreme personality of Godhead, Lord Brahma is paying his humble obeisances. He's saying, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I pray my humble obeisances to Lord Govinda, or Lord Vishnu, or Lord Krishna, who is the supreme controller, who is the supreme, the God of all gods. So that's Brahma himself paying his obeisances to Krishna. And the fact of the matter is, we need to know this in truth. So this is not just information we store in our mind or in our brains as mere data, and then there is no realization that comes out of it. So Krishna himself says, Evam yo vedi tattvataha, those who know them in truth. And what is this absolute truth? The absolute truth is that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and we are just his part and parcels. So although we are his part and parcels and we have similar qualities to him, if we can purify ourselves, we can never merge with him. So that's very important. We can never become one with him. So he is infinite, whereas we are finite. To take an example of an ocean, ocean is infinite, whereas a drop of water is finite. So we have finite capabilities, we have finite potencies, and our goal of life is to serve Krishna. So there's a beautiful verse again. Mamaikam sho jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatanaha. So we are all part and parcels of Krishna. Krishna himself says this, and Prabhupada says it is perfect. He who accepts this truth on the strength of the authority of the Vedas and of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and more importantly, does not waste time in philosophical speculations, attains the highest perfectional stage of liberation. So let's take a small example, right? A very practical example, material example. So let's say a person falls sick, he's really sick, his stomach is paining, he's not able to eat, he's got a lot of indigestion, he's vomiting. So he goes to the doctor, right? The doctor takes a look at him, examines him, and then prescribes a prescription to him and asks him to take some medicine from the chemist, right? But if this person is very doubtful, like he's always doubtful, he's always suspicious, he spends an infinite amount of time going through the doctor's qualifications. Then after going through the doctor's qualifications, if he's satisfied, he will then go through the prescription and then check every single ingredient to make sure that it's not adulterated, it's manufactured properly, and it's manufactured without any copyright, and it's the right brand and all of that. Then God help him, right? He's never going to get cured. So similarly, the spirit of the Gita, or the spirit of the message of the Lord, is to understand him in a spirit of devotion. Bhaktyamam abhijanati. So yes, we can have little bit of doubt, but to constantly question and speculate and indulge in endless philosophical discussions will not really take us forward in the path of bhakti, because then you're just questioning everything around you without knowing that you yourself are finite. Your mental capabilities themselves are finite, your intelligence itself is finite, and you are questioning the authorities from the scriptures. So it's better that we follow what Krishna has given. So Krishna can be compared to the doctor who has provided us the prescription. The prescription is the Bhagavad Gita, the set of instructions he has provided to us. The Bhagavad Gita is just an extract of the Vedas put together in a form that can be practically followed by us. And if we were to take that prescription and follow it, follow the practices that are outlined in that, then we can spiritually advance rather than indulge in endless philosophical discussions, because there is no end to it. People have spent their entire lifetime indulging in speculations and discussions and debates, but have never made any progress. So there are three types of yoga practices that are typically followed. All three are qualified. The first one is Jnana Yoga. So Jnana Yoga is actually, like I said, it involves lots of knowledge gathering, philosophical speculation, but the destination of somebody, a Jnana Yogi, is the impersonal Brahman. So they call it the Brahma Jyoti. For them, everything merges into the Brahman or the Brahma Jyoti. There is no personal form of the Lord. There is no individual personal relationship of the Lord. Nor is there an individuality of the soul. So according to them, all the souls in this world will eventually merge into the Brahma Jyoti. But then the question is, if the purpose as per them is for all the souls to merge into the Brahma Jyoti, then why did they get created in the first place? There is no purpose to creating and then merging something, then again creating and merging something, right? So the Vaishnava philosophy clearly states that yes, you can enter the Brahma Jyoti, but it's only a partial realization. There is no complete merger. We still will continue to exist as souls, and we will eternally continue to exist. So what is the destination of such jnanis? They will achieve the Brahma Jyoti, but once they achieve the Brahma Jyoti, there is nothing more to it. They will just remain there in a state where they can either try and form a personal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, or they can come back to the material world and again go through the cycle of birth and death. But the devotees of the Lord, the devotees who follow Bhakti Yoga, in this lifetime they continue to relish the pastimes of the Lord through hearing it from senior devotees. They chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, they perform kirtans, they have prasadam, and they live a very bright life, a very colorful life. And at the end, because they perform devotional service, they will attain Krishna in his personal form, which is going back to Godhead and continuing to serve the Lord in a different capacity. So the nature of the soul is always to serve. We cannot be static in one place, like merging or staying static in the Brahman effulgence. The nature is to always serve. So even in our life in the material world, we are following that nature of constantly serving. Maybe not the Lord all the time, but we are serving either our family or our employers, our colleagues, sometimes it becomes our pets, and even we serve inanimate things or objects, like we service our car, we service our loan, we are constantly servicing or serving something or the other. So we then take back the similar attribute back into the spiritual world, and we then would like to serve Krishna. So the process starts with Bhakti Yoga, here in worshipping the form of Krishna as you see him, engaging your senses to perform darshan, pay your obeisances, and then engage in devotional activities along with other devotees, and then taking this attitude, this consciousness back into the spiritual world to serve the Lord in his original spiritual form. So that was the difference in the two paths that I mentioned, although both are qualified. The destination of these two paths is slightly different. So the other path is these yogis perform austerities for a number of years. They call it tapasya, and it involves a lot of millions and millions of births, millions of lots of penances, meditation, and focusing on the Supreme, and going through a lot of hardship. But the devotees, because they are already situated on a spiritual plane here, serving the Lord, they do not have to undergo so much of austerity, and they typically tend to get to their destination of Goloka Vrindavan very, very quickly. So this is an accelerated process which we all can aim to follow. So how do we then develop or progress in Bhakti Yoga? How do we know Krishna in truth? Because there are a lot of people who have read all the Vedic scriptures. If you go to India, there's plenty of people. Then they will recite a lot of scriptures for you. They know a lot of shlokas. And in fact, it's even become a business. They say we'll do 7 days Bhagavatam for you, or we will give you a course on Bhagavad Gita, and there's all this jargon attached to it, how it will help you in the corporate world and how will it help you perform well and all that. But to them, it's just information. There is no realization of this information. So information plus realization will lead to transformation. Otherwise, it's just plain academic information. So we don't want to follow that path. The path to actually progressing in bhakti is to develop faith and develop your knowledge. So these are the two pillars upon which bhakti progresses. So how to develop faith? It's not very easy. The only way to develop faith is to establish relationships or associations with other devotees, looking at them, indulging in their devotional processes, their kirtans, the food that they're eating, their habits. That sort of then inspires us to then follow their path. Otherwise, it's very hard to do this alone. It's very hard to stay at home and then say that you're following bhakti and then you progress. Because if that was the case, all of us would be back in Godhead. Why are we here listening to this Gita class, right? So association or sadhu sangha is extremely important to develop faith. And we find that if we are not in the midst of devotees and we are by ourselves in a different environment, our consciousness tends to adapt to that particular environment that we are in, rather than the original consciousness of being a devotee. So it's very important to have that association. And second is knowledge. Knowledge comes through reading of the scriptures, hearing it from senior devotees, and also taking shelter of a guru, a bona fide guru who can guide us. Right? So again, ISKCON is not the only genuine sampradaya. There's other sampradayas also that have a guru shishya parampara that offer people the path to take advantage of knowledge of senior devotees and then progress along the bhakti path. And when do we need to actually start this process, right? So it's very important to start, ideally now. So even in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna actually tells Arjuna several times, now Arjuna, get up and take up your weapons and fight. Now hear from me, Arjuna. Now listen to me. He doesn't say tomorrow or day after, let's talk later. He says now. So now is the only reality in spiritual life. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen the next hour. We don't know what's going to happen in the next minute. We all have had experiences of close connections, close relatives, being there with us one particular day, and then overnight something happens and they're no longer with us. So all our plans of we will first finish, let me get my promotion, or let my children first grow up, let them come out of their sports activities and let them grow up, or let me first set up my business and establish it properly, let me pay off all my home loans. let me get access to my superannuation, someone told me, and then I will have enough money to then think of retiring and then starting bhakti. But who even knows? We know when we were born, but unfortunately Krishna doesn't tell us. We don't come with an expiry date tag, we only come with a manufacturing date tag. So it's very important for us to start now, and that's the way we then progress, because if we wait, it may be too late. There could be, our body only tends to deteriorate, we tend to lose sight, we tend to lose our hearing faculties, and it's hard. So many people I know are in their 80s and 90s, and they're not even able to get out of bed and do the basic functions, leave alone reading books or chanting or even taking darshan of the Lord. So I think today or now is the time, and we are all fortunate to be gathered here in I would call this one of the most auspicious places in Melbourne. We are all fortunate to be here. We chose to be here. We could have been anywhere else. And just think of all those people who are anywhere else, indulging in everything else they are doing. And they sometimes find it hard to come to the temple even once a year. Even coming once on their birthday to the temple is like undertaking a Himalayan trek for them. It's like, yes, we came to the temple, it's like a major achievement. So no criticism about them, but just to show how fortunate we are to be here, the midst of pure devotees, and be able to hear Krishna Katha and take darshan of the Lord. So that's what we should understand when Krishna says, he who knows me in truth. So it's not just some historical information that Krishna existed. Everyone knows about Krishna. If you go to India, every child will be able to say, oh, Krishna was there, he performed this pastime. I saw this movie about Krishna, they will say, he performed this, he did that. But it's not a historical information, it is realizing who he was and then applying that information to our day-to-day lives. And we tend to get too judgmental sometimes. We look at different philosophies, different gurus, we say, oh, this one is not genuine, this one is fake, this one we're criticizing them, and we have so many judgments. But when we self-analyze, are we genuine is the question. The question to ask ourselves is, am I genuine? Am I genuinely reading the scriptures to whatever ability I can and putting those scriptures into practice in my day-to-day life? Have I realized the meaning of what Lord has said, and am I doing something about it? Am I trying to inculcate some values in my family which will apart from what they're doing in the material world, add to their spiritual progress? How genuine are we is the question all of us needs to ask ourselves and reflect on it. And what can we do better to get closer to the Lord is something we should all ask, rather than endlessly speculating on who is genuine, who is not genuine, and then having those discussions, because, as I said, life is short, and the call to action is now. Now is the only reality of spiritual life. So Prabhuji has come, Vishnu Vamsi Prabhu, so I might hand over to him. He's got a message to share with all of you, but I will conclude with this message that let me just read this once again, this beautiful verse, and then we can conclude for today. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mam aiti so Arjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So these are the words of the Lord, and let's reflect on this and aim to put this into practice going forward. Hare Krishna.